but this not good enough is, the programming isn't you're not good enough. That's how we perceive it. But the program is actually saying you are too powerful, you are too good, you are too competent, you are too amazing, because you're going to break these old limitations of what women are allowed to do.
Right. So that's,
So it's never, so if you have, I'm not deserving, I'm not good enough, I'm rubbish, I'm not competent, that is a complete smokescreen. Underneath, it's saying, oh my God, you're just too powerful.
I'm Suzanne Paul. I have with me the amazing Dr. Anne Whitehouse from secretsorceress.com. She was with us on Tuesday afternoon. I'm delighted that she's here again today. I have to tell you that today is one of those days where I'm feeling a little bit like, ah! I've been having a series of 14-hour days of working this week, which I absolutely adore, but I'm a bit tired. And I've got a weekend ahead of me that is quite intense. And today is another 14-hour day. And I have to tell you, I do love it, but I'm a little bit at the threshold of coping with everything. I feel like I'm quite premenstrual and perimenopausal, and I might start to cry. And with that, I'm going to just share that before we came on the live this morning, Anne and I were talking about limits, and I was like, that is perfect, because that is just where I am. Yeah, so I feel like I'm at the edge of the cliff, and if someone pushes me, I'm jumping off. Not literally, I say that metaphorically. I don't mean it. Don't worry, I mean that in a kind of metaphorical way, but it's like there's a limit in front of me, and I'm not quite sure what to do with it, Anne.
Right. Okay.
Just lay it out on the line for you.
Absolutely right. Limits. So limits are something which I don't even know where to start. Limits hold women back again and again and again and again. And we can look at it from the surface point of view, which we all do, which is, I've just pushed myself to the limit of my endurance, my exhaustion, my focus, all the rest of it, and we're just about to drop. And that, of course, is all true. But I'm going to ask you to consider what is probably going on underneath. Because when we sort that out, then suddenly limits don't trigger in such a spectacular manner. And it's absolutely essential for, succeeding and keeping your well-being at the same time. And we all know that, just push in one direction is never going to give you a happy, fulfilled life, because you're just going to drop. So limits. Here we have a beautiful example of this subconscious beast that I love to talk about. We have our programming, that hidden operating system rooted in the past, and it is going to be telling you what you're allowed to do and how much you're allowed to have. It's going to be saying, hey, Suzanne, you're allowed to have so much income. You're allowed to have so many clients. You're allowed to make this amount of impact. You're allowed to have that much leadership in the world and that many followers on Facebook. But when you expand that a little bit further, the subconscious is going to say, whoa, that is too powerful. That is too much money. That is too much impact, too much leadership, too much influence, too much visibility. Because it doesn't look at you as, a high achieving professional 21st century woman. It looks at its benchmarks, which are basically looking back at your ancestry. And so, if I look at my ancestry, what I encourage people to do is to look at their grandmothers, or if they're like a bit younger than you and I, their great grandmothers, somewhere at the beginning of the 20th century, and look at, what income did they have? How much freedom? How much education? What were they allowed to do? How were they relative to their husbands? Did they have a life outside the home at all? Your subconscious is on that page. So when you expand into your amazingness as an influencing leader, game changer, all the stuff that we love to do, right? Your subconscious is freaking out. It's freaking out because you are doing stuff which is, it's going to label it as disreputable. It's going to label it as it's appalling, it's unseemly. You are breaking so many taboos, so many forbidden things, and part of it they're saying, and you're going to be burnt as a witch because you're way too powerful relative to the men, right?
Oh,
and so you don't know that. You don't know what's going on. You're there saying, right, I want to do this summit, and I want to talk to that client, and I want to have a nice business arrangement with this company over here, or whatever it is that you're doing. And the subconscious is saying, no, stop. You've got to stop now. So what it does, it triggers the stress, a mega stress response, which can then go into you having a meltdown, you suddenly having so many things on your plate that it's like, oh my God, my head is exploding. It's not that I'm not capable, but my God, there's like 100 things to fit into 3 hours. It's just not going to happen. Or it could go, it can go into things like health problems. So if you have migraines or IBS or chronic fatigue, it can go there. And so your inner system is saying, I have to sabotage you to keep you safe because you are going into completely forbidden territory. And it can also go into feeling, I'm not good enough. Who am I to think that I can lead this movement of change for women? I mean, we all go through it. But the point is that once you understand what your subconscious is saying, that it's in completely the wrong place, totally the wrong page, using the wrong benchmarks and rules that are like 100+ years old, that immediately puts you back in power. There's still, of course, you're not free from it, but when you can say, aha, I know your game, I know that I'm feeling like this, but what I also know is that it's an illusion. I'm being given these false messages because I'm totally entitled, I'm totally good enough, I'm not, I'm not going to be burned at the stake, and I'm not being disreputable for being visible and speaking up and being a powerful woman. It's totally allowed, totally my right. So it's that turning upside down, that I'm not good enough, I shouldn't be doing this, who am I to think that I can step up and do this work? And so when you take that out and your subconscious stops freaking out and thinking that you're going to die if you move forwards, the stress response goes down, and then suddenly you've got the same things on your plate, but it doesn't feel anywhere near as stressful or as bad or as manic. So understanding that process of I move forward, I've triggered the subconscious because it's stuck in the past, but I recognize it for what it is. It's not a reason to stop and backtrack and say I'm not good enough and pull back and let somebody else fill that spot. It's time to say, right, this is a sign that I'm actually pretty amazing because I pulled away so far from my ancestral programming. And when you understand that, the worse you feel, it's actually saying the better you're doing, because despite all of that heritage that says, no, Suzanne, you can't go there, forbidden, despite all of that, you've still achieved what you have. So at that point, you can say, right, I'm actually doing pretty well here. I'm doing very well. I'm not going to let this sabotage me. I understand its game, but it's not going to win. I don't have to take any notice of it. And that mindset, that conscious understanding is just going to take that stress down and help you to move through that limit. And then, of course, it becomes comfortable. And the subconscious says, oh, actually, it was okay after all. I don't see the Inquisition coming to torture me. Right? I still seem to be here. And I'm still part of the human race. And everything is fine. And then, of course, the next limit triggers. But once you understand the process, this limit, you're not going to get floored by it. You're not going to get stopped in your tracks. You just recognize it, move through it, and you're in control.
Amazing. And I have to tell you, like, what you've said so much resonated with, I don't know about anybody else, but I totally can relate to what you're saying. So particularly the part about, so I have secretly dreamt of, like, that in the past I was burned as a witch. So that's a
I
little
think
thing that
most
I
of
don't
us
talk
probably
about.
were.
Yeah, I don't talk about very often, but yeah, and it's so interesting also what you're saying, because part of the reason that I know that I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling at the moment is because there's, well, the business is like, I'm serving more people in the business than and women specifically, than I've ever done before, and it's amazing. I love it, but it's also like, oh my gosh, that's like, what's going on? And then also
Right.
I've got these 2 big weekends that are coming up where I've got a lot of responsibility and accountability, and I'm having to like, so there's lots of things to manage, and conversations to manage, and energy to manage, and it's just, I love it, and it's all a bit like, my brain is going, oh, you can't do this, this isn't a good idea. And so it's really perfect what you've just created in terms of, yeah, it's just my unconscious programming telling me that I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. And when I notice that's what's going on, it's like, oh, okay. And I think this is what I notice in the work that I do with women also, is when we speak to us, like, when we have the brain pattern called, I'm not good enough, I can't do that, that's, I don't deserve that, that's what manifests. And it's only in the noticing of that programming that then it's like, well, actually, is that really the case? Then you can start to question the program and
Exactly.
create something new.
And the thing is that this not good enough is, the programming isn't you're not good enough. That's how we perceive it.
Mm.
But the program is actually saying you are too powerful, you are too good, you are too competent, you are too amazing, because you're going to break these old limitations of what women are allowed to do.
Right. So that's,
So it's never,
that's,
if you have, I'm not deserving, I'm not good enough, I'm rubbish, I'm not competent, that is a complete smokescreen. Underneath, it's saying, oh my God, you're just too powerful.
so
You're
that's
too
even,
gifted.
that's like, that's even better. That's even like, so and actually, that's, I really can hear what that is. We are truly limitless. We are infinite in being, but we forget, like, our subconscious brains. Well, it's scary to think that we're that powerful. It's like, it can be overwhelming. And so our subconscious mind tells us, well, then protect yourself and put this limit in place. And
Mhm.
actually, that limit is the artificial barrier, because what's available is this universal infinite energy.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Amazing.
everyone has this process, men and women, but we have the added thing that there are a whole lot of patriarchal limits programmed into our heritage.
Wow. Yeah.
And that is enormous for every woman on the planet.
And that's why we're in this divine feminine. I mean, look, I'm not a feminine woman. I'm not, but I do have, like, we all have the capacity to be divinely powerful and infinite, and in whatever energy that is for us, and whatever expression that is for us. And that is what it is that Anne and I are sharing about today, and, well, Anne in particular. Um, so just because it's 2 minutes to our time to go, because we are very careful on time on Suzanne Paul's timeline, what's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you and find out more about Secret Sorceress and this is it okay to call it the divine feminine message, that the infinite feminine message?
Absolutely, totally. I mean, you can take it in a very spiritual angle, and you can take it in a far more, three-dimensional world angle, but it's all the same thing, really. It's connecting and awakening and not suppressing who we are because of the old programming that says that's not allowed, you've got to keep your eyes downcast and get back in the kitchen.
That's right. Yeah. So in our infinite source being, so what's the best way for people to connect with
The
you?
best way will be to go to, if you just type in secretsorceress.com, that will actually take you to my Facebook group. And I'm doing trainings and everything to shift this subconscious programming. Everything I've been talking about, we're doing it in the Secret Sorceress Facebook group. So I'd love you to come and join in, because the bigger it's about shifting a consciousness, and the more women are there releasing themselves from these limits, the more everyone around us is going to begin to feel that freedom.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to be putting a link to Anne's Facebook group in the chat, in the comments underneath this video. We've had amazing feedback about the recording and the interview that we did on Tuesday, Anne. I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation next
Me
Tuesday.
too.
We will be back next week at the same times as we were this week. So that's 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 16th of February, and 11:30 a.m. on Friday, the 19th of February. So stay tuned, come back and watch us live again. And in the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody. Look out for the link to Anne's Facebook group in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye.